Today I have two questions. Both are really the same question, but let me share those questions with you and then we'll talk about it. The question is, can one say that the main essence of spirituality is to remove the attitude of doership, or to get rid of ego and always believe that the divine Shakti or the energy is working through me and I am not the doer? So basically, one is inquiring about doership and ego. Let's talk about that. Let us talk about first the doership. So many things fulcrum around doership. And doership is not that easy to understand and is the easiest. We all the time talk about that I am the doer. And even though we don't talk about, but we would like other people to recognize that I did this. I am doing this and I am doing that. And when the tragedy comes for your spiritual progress, when you are bragging that you did this and you did that, what is it and what is in us that makes us say so? In past, we have talked about insufficiency. And what do you mean by insufficiency? That I do not have this or I am not that. In other words, either you do not have certain object or certain recognition of your personality. So you keep on thinking that I rather do this and I become this so that more people will come to realize me and more people will appreciate me. More people will appreciate you because now less people are appreciating. So you're looking for the degree of appreciation to grow. You do not have that much appreciation. Other thing is, when you just bought a car and you feel so joyful that, oh, now I'm so happy. But the moment the next door neighbor or your friend buys a higher or a different model, then your sufficiency mark gets lowered. And you think that now, since I had Mercedes 230, but my neighbor has Mercedes 560. And so on. In other words, you can have a beautiful palatial home for, say, $30 million. But the moment when you come to know that your friend or your boss or anybody bought a $40 million house, then again, our sufficiency mark becomes insufficient. So you want something that will satisfy you. But fundamentally, you have the assumption that things will make me happy, or my certain appreciation or certain level of personality will make me happy. The reason I'm mentioning to this is I'm coming to the question that the spiritual path can be easily attained once I develop that I'm not a doer. But you can convince yourself that you are not the doer, and you can tell everybody else that I am not the doer, but the way in the root of yours existence, I would say, that your personality is developed of insufficiency. Moment when you start introvertly going in and recognizing instead of apurna, insufficient, you start recognizing and witnessing purnam, totality, fullness, sufficient, complete, all those words, perfect. Once you start realizing it, mind you, talking is one thing. 10 people telling you that, my God, he is so contented. But the way deep in your heart, way deep in your personality, are you truly recognizing it, that my life is so full? So full that I realize fullness everywhere. As soon as you realize fullness everywhere, then you know that you want nothing. And when you don't want anything, you're not going to look for something, or you're not going to do certain thing to get something to be happy. So what really the doership comes into picture? This is first to get the physical items or the objects. And this is equally true that when you come to know that you are a chosen being, divine has chosen you not to be the richest person of the earth, but it might have chosen you to be the janitor, say, for example. I'm not putting janitor down, or a farm worker, or even a beggar. Whatever that you have been chosen, and the universe has brought you that junction or the juncture at which you have to exhibit certain characteristic, and you have to do something to be the part of the whole universe. There's a big symphony going on. In that symphony, everybody cannot be the conductor. But even if one person just had to play one note only for 10th of a second, even then, he need to be happy that he is part of the whole universe. He's part of this whole symphony. And he said, I am so chosen for this little note of 10th of a second. And that's what I will play. And I will do the best I can. Even though I will be doing it, I am the physical instrument, but I have been chosen by the divine. So truly speaking, I am like a blank flute, a piece of bamboo, and through which, even though I will be blowing through, this body will be blowing through, but who provides the energy? Who provides the intelligence as to how the air blown through the flute will be controlled by the fingers? Who gives the movement for the fingers? So with this constant awareness, thinking, oh divine, you have chosen me for this grand symphony, and my tiny bitty involvement is still your gift to me, and you want me to do it. So it is you who really is doing it, intelligence-wise as well as energy-wise. Isha. We have heard so much on it. Isha Vasya Idam Sarvam. Do we really understand this? And contemplating on this, doership will or can be very easily dissolved. Once the doership gets dissolved, your identity, physical identity, as a member of the symphony player also dissolves. Not externally though, not socially though, but in your mind. And since the doership is dissolved, and you have the fullness, totality is experienced, and there is no further desire that someday I will do better than the 10th of a minute roll. But at the same time, you will not be lazy. You will do whatever the divine power wants you to be. At the same time, you may be a great conductor, world known. Still, your role is equal to that of the 10th of a minute roll. Why? Because both have been chosen by the greatest conductor ever, and that is the divine being. So divine being is not just the word to be spoken. Divine being is not to keep on chanting Isha Vasya Ilam Sarvam, but to experience. Initially, yes, first thing is the satsang, with which we come to know of our ignorance. And later on, nididhyasam. What does the word nididhyasam mean? Start experiencing in every step of life, so that that becomes your experience. And at that time, Ishavasya Upanishad does not have to say, Ishavasya Ilam Sarvam. Your own experience says that, yes, I have seen it not, I am seeing it. The way I speak, I'm not talking, it is that power that blows this beautiful music through me. It is that power that makes my heart work. It, that power let the whole universe exist. Dear friend, this Upanishadic wisdom need to be continuously contemplated, not on a loudspeaker and telling everybody that I know Ishavasya. I know Soham Asmi. I know Brahmasmi, those four great major Mahavakyas. Knowing it is one thing, experiencing it and it becoming the part of your life is different. Even though you may not have linguistic power, you cannot impress upon anybody, but you within ourselves, we within ourselves, needs nobody to tell us that I am not the doer. And as soon as you are not the doer, understand what will happen. Because if your neighbor is doing something, building something, would you be happy or unhappy if the guy doesn't do right? You are not the doer. And the thing that you were so-called doing is also not your project. It is part of the whole universe. And it's everybody's contribution. And ultimately, there's only one contributor, and that is Isha. So what shall happen? Things get done, and you will rejoice that it is done, and you will see the beauty of it. You will not be complaining that that was not done right. Because who decides that was done right or not? Because in your mind, you have a standard of idealism, meaning if that would have happened that way, then would have been right. No, you are not the judge. And we often say, oh, don't judge it. You should not judge anything. But the moment you start comparing, judgment comes into picture. And at that time, we can say hundreds of times, Ishavashayidam Sarvam, or I am not the doer. But dear friend, this has to come from within. And when I say within, if you have touched fire and you have been burnt, would anybody on this earth need to tell you that fire is hot? No, because that is your experience. As soon as you start experiencing divinity everywhere, as soon as you start experiencing that you are a chosen one, as soon as you experience that you are Purnam, who in the heaven has to tell you that you to look for something? Nothing to be looked for. Because everything is provided to you. And we start recognizing, and whatever has been provided to you, those are the tools you need. And what I meant by tools, if you happen to be a barber, then you don't need a cutting saw to cut wood or metal or anything else. Because you are a barber, you would be assigned and you were selected to be a barber. Divine will provide you with the right tools, and those right tools, right customers, and divine knows what is your need. You are not the one to decide. And the moment you start thinking about your security, so to say, that means what? All the broadcasting that you do, that Ishavashayidam Sarvam, that means what? You believe in it, but there comes the but. We have to worry for our security. We have to worry for our retirement. These are the words will come to you. understanding that these many years you have lived your life, and you often say, I have earned everything. No, my dear friend. That doesn't mean you stop working. You keep on working, you put in your effort. But every moment you think, oh divine, you know. You don't even have to say that you take care of me. That means what? Divine doesn't know how to take care of you. Just witness and keep on appreciating. Attitude of gratitude. That is such a beautiful, important tool of spirituality, and genuinely start to recognize for every single moment of your life, then what shall happen? You are not the doer. Things happen. When I say things happen, you don't have to look for anywhere. Just dive deep into and say, how do you breathe or breath happens? Sometimes we say, I deserve the best lunch on my table because I work so hard. Best lunch. And you say you have earned it. Who planted the seeds? Who nurtured the seeds? Who reaped the crop? Who packed the crop into bigger bundles? Who shipped it to the distributor? Where it went to further distribution and further distribution. And then it goes to the packing industry, then it comes to the food store for distribution. You go and buy it. You spend money, granted. How did you earn money? You say, no, I worked very hard and I did so much for my company. Understandable, you did so much for the company, that's your contribution. Understand. But if company would not have had any job, how would your boss would have paid you that salary? Whereby, dear friends, thousands of angles from which the energy flows in, and a beautiful symphony or a dance is created. And you, even while playing your role as a dancer, you are enjoying the dance. Whatever it is, howsoever small or the large role you have, we often say, I'm not the judge and I should not be judged. I need not be judged. But experience. Start developing the attitude of gratitude. Attitude of fullness, totality, completeness, perfectness. Instead of us setting the transient, continuously varying standard of idealism, and you compare to that level, which may not be even attainable, and then you become miserable. Instead, just close your eyes and say, oh divine, I'm so grateful. Whatever role you want me to play, I will. Because you know what is good for me, and you know what role I have to play. It is you appearing in the form of Goddess Lakshmi and will provide me the necessary objects to do my job, to let my life be lived. And you know what is comfort? Anything that you give me, He is my comfort. He is my security. So yes, doership, as soon as it strikes you for the word like apurna, insufficiency, begging for recognition, again, the ego satisfaction. And these will appear to be your subtle complaint. You don't have to talk to anybody, but when you're sitting in silence and you desire to have something more, you know that there is doership. As soon as you have a desire to be recognized, that means you want to become something which you are not. And that something is also coming from the phony standard for comparison or superiority that you are developing. So every stage a standard comes. The best standard is the standard that you are gifted with this, any doership or any work that you do, any assignment that you do. Yes, I agree with you. Moment the doership comes, moment the ego comes, don't condemn it, because condemnation will not help you. But just realize the light and darkness will disappear. Because as soon as you realize Ishavasya idam sarvam, then you cannot exist. In one sheath of sword, only one thing can stay. Two swords cannot stay in it, meaning God and you cannot stay together. Meaning you, on one side, you're convincing your mind that God, you are doing it everything. But you let me know what to do. But you have to understand that the people respect me. But you have to also understand, God, that my future is secured. What? You trust and you don't trust. And this is also not a matter of trusting. It's a matter of your experience and realizing it out of your experience, not that of any scripture, not that of somebody else telling us. So every day, rain or shine, minimum spend 5 minutes before going to bed, minimum I say. Recognize that what you were thinking that you were doing it, but how the situation flows in and your work gets progressed. That is doership. And then look at the sky and be grateful and develop the sense of gratitude. So, with this, dear friend, Hari Om. Let us end with the Shantipat prayer, and let us not leave this question to be questioned, but some beacon as a light to warn us and guide us and put us on the path and slowly guide us to be moved out of ego and out of doership. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purna Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. That's it.